Let's resume. As the public officers have arrived, first of all, 5 minutes for Ms. Claudia Mo. I'm looking at paper 04. You said that the Hong Kong's entry to the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank has not been consulted. You talked about past practice, and I don't know what it means. And you said approval was secured at the Finance Committee earlier, and you said that members supported the entry of Hong Kong into the AIIB and the subscription of shares. And of the 23 members, only 9 were Democrats. I wonder what past practice referred to and why there weren't any public consultations. You said that according to media reports, the public's response has been very positive. So are you playing the role of the Information Services Department as well? This is unreasonable. That's my first question. And secondly, in the English, there's an English paper which is quite scary, and apparently there are very limited returns. And paper 06. You talked about the AIIB's management in the third paragraph.
Rated should be reinvested in other infrastructure projects. Therefore, the direct return to our equity capital, if any, is expected to be limited.
So in other words, the return will be limited. We have joined the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, and we do have contributions while we also enjoy benefits. We acknowledge ADB's works in Asia on poverty alleviation. And for the AIB, I'm a bit confused. You do not expect actual returns, and you have circumvened Hong Kong people in this project, and there's no element of charity. So the overall impression is that Hong Kong's entry into AIB is might be another move to please Beijing. Would that be the case? Undersecretary. Thank you. Ms. Mo referred to discussions at the Financial Affairs panel and the results of such discussions. At that time, the panel chairman compiled a summary of the discussions, and the response in general was supportive. We realize that members have different views. Of course, the support was not unanimous, but you made it sound like members generally supported the project. You were being misleading. Ms. Mo also asked about the investment returns. In the paper and at earlier meetings, we explained that there are different factors in the joining of AIB, and we have listed 5 reasons under paragraph 3. For elements like poverty alleviation, they are indeed present, and they are related to infrastructure and social development. I won't look for another answer from him. Why was there no public consultation? What did you mean by past practice? What were you referring to? Chairman, when we consider such policy initiatives, we need to understand the operation of an organization, its strategy, etc. Did you find out whether Hong Kong people were willing to join AIIB? You did not have any public consultation, and you simply told Beijing you wanted to join. This is unacceptable. Mr. Lee, the DAB agrees that Hong Kong should join the AIIB. We believe that by joining the AIIB, our financial and professional services can be promoted. We talked about a lack of economic drivers, and now we have an opportunity, which is the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as the entry into AIIB. Hopefully, our financial professionals and other professionals can exploit this opportunity. As to whether it's too early to make a decision, from the government's paper, 52 countries have already joined. For example, Australia, Austria, Azerbaijan, Egypt, China, Finland, France, Georgia, Germany, Iceland, etc. 52 countries have joined, and a number will join. Brazil, Kuwait, South Africa, Spain, etc. As a city, Hong Kong would not have this opportunity, but our country allowed us to take part. So this is a precious opportunity for us. The first question is, how many countries have already joined? As a legislator, I'd like to know about the returns of the $6 billion investment, but at this early stage, I believe that it's difficult to come up with accurate estimates. Are you actually communicating with the trade so that they would be kept up to date so that they can also exploit such opportunities? Undersecretary, the founding members of the AIB consisted of 57 members. And they obtained funding approvals from their legislatures, and we have more than 50. For the upcoming members, we have more than 20 applicants waiting to join, and the applications have been approved in principle by AIIB. So altogether, we will have more than 70 countries or members. As to the communication channels, at the FAP meeting last time, we talked about how we can allow the trade to know more about the AIB and its projects. On one hand, the president of AIB visited Hong Kong, and we arranged at least 2 meetings with the trade so that they would know about the operation of AIB and the opportunities. And on the AIB website, we listed out the 12 approved projects, and there are still others which are under proposal, and they are also listed on the website. Hong Kong's enterprises and companies can access this list. And the Hong Kong Monetary Authority has the IFFO, and they would also provide information for access by relevant people. So we are indeed promoting understanding from the trade on AIB. I received some inquiries from the trade, so I hope that the government would communicate more with the trade because more information is demanded. More than 50 countries have joined the AIB. In order to Hong Kong to retain its competitive edge, we should also join. After joining the AIB, we can have our own nominations, or we can nominate core members, and this would help us communicate with the 50-odd member countries. This is correct. Dr. K. Kwok, you have 5 minutes. They are coming for $1.2 billion this time and another $4.8 billion for callable shares. Compared with projects such as XRL and the Hong Kong Joint Macau Bridge, these funds are just peanuts, but this is still public money. You have been honest in your paper. They said they did not calculate or estimate the returns. Now, can you be even more honest? Can you say that these funds would never return and such money would go down the drains? Can I put it this way? Undersecretary, for such multilateral development banks, when we join these bodies, can you answer my question? There's no chance of getting such money back. Yes, you can say that. Chairman, this is not considered a commercial investment, so we would not think about return on investment, internal returns, etc. I understand the situation, Undersecretary. As you know, the Chinese government wants to show that they are being generous, and did Hong Kong consider whether there is such need to join? The big guns would ask for contributions from countries. Some would make contributions, some not. Have we considered the fact that if we do not contribute, well, the number of shares is very low anyway, and outside the electrical complex, some patients came for a protest, and they just need $20,000 worth of drugs every month to save their lives. But the government is being cold-blooded, and they are refusing to subsidize such amount. But for the $6 billion, they would contribute that amount without even thinking. I understand why you did not carry out any public consultation, because the result would have been negative. Would you spend the money in more reasonable ways? For example, on drugs for patients. A lot of elderly people could not receive a place in a residential home till they pass away. And I think the FSTB would embrace certain principles in the spending of public money. Do you think you can explain yourselves to our elderly people and patients? We requested the $6 billion funding from the Finance Committee. Such shares would not affect other forms of public expenditure in healthcare, welfare, etc. Well, they said that they have no money for drugs. Well, I'm talking about your bureau. You said your bureau had no money. For policy and infrastructure needs, approval from the Public Works Subcommittee would be required. What about for drugs? You don't have to go through the PWSC, right? You don't even have money for drugs, and people are dying. I'm not responsible for the Food and Health Bureau. But under the budget, there are specific policies in place on various areas such as healthcare, and if more funds are required, the relevant policy bureau can submit proposals to the FC to reflect such needs. It's not whether our bureau has the money, it's about putting the money into good use. Mr. James Toh, 5 minutes. Chairman, the government has been quite honest. We cannot say that the $6 billion will go down the drain, but indeed you do not expect a return. So we can consider this a token or a gesture. In your paper, in paragraph 3, you said that based on the various factors, you have different considerations, A to B, A to E. In A, you said that with our financial talents, we would benefit from the AIB's operations. This is very objective, and this is irrelevant to Hong Kong joining AIB. So we can cross out the entire para 3A. And under paragraph B, since we have experts in project negotiation, preparation of works, and management contracts and international law, our membership should stand Hong Kong companies in good stead to participate in AIB projects. In other words, if we do not join the AIB, we might not stand to benefit. Or this is a but for relationship or test. And in paragraph C, you talked about reinforcing our position as an international financial center. If we do not join, would our position be worse off? So this is a matter of judgment. And in paragraph D, if we subscribe to the shares, it will strengthen Hong Kong's standing and credibility, as well as issuance of bonds. I think we should really look at B and D. Chairman, the subscription amounts is based on GDP and economic growth. And since this is only a token or gesture, can we actually pay less like some of the other countries, since we are not going to have any returns anyway? Can we just invest enough to achieve what is listed in B and D? Are you confident that by investing $6 billion, they will set up an office here? Or would you say that you are going to invest another $20 billion for them to set up a sub-office? This is just like the Disneyland project, and no bonds are issued, and well, you might want to suggest a second round of investment worth $20 billion, and that would leave a better impression. I'm afraid that this would become a black hole.
And I need to determine, well, after paying, say, $1.2 billion, how likely are we to achieve the two objectives in B and D? Mr. Lau. Let me first clarify that in relation to the shares, for some countries, because of other considerations of the economy, they have subscribed to fewer shares. As far as Hong Kong is concerned, be it B or D or A, in paragraph 3, we consider Hong Kong's financial capability comparing to other countries. Because of the economic situation, they may have to subscribe to fewer shares. But for Hong Kong, we propose to proceed with the subscription to shares, and the question was whether we can start with fewer shares, and then if necessary we can then subscribe to more shares, and this will be subject to approval by all members of the AIIB. As we understand, as far as the founding countries were concerned, at least one of the countries encountered this situation. Subsequently, they planned to subscribe to more shares, and in the end, this didn't happen. So it's not the case that we can definitely increase the subscription of shares by 50% later. About the points A to E in paragraph 3, the member believed that it's not quite relevant, but in fact all 5 points are important for Hong Kong, because for paragraph 3A, for example, in terms of our financial services sector and investment and financial management, I understand that at least 10 to 20 members are now striving for the setting up of an office for financial management and financing. So, in our calculation, the amount of commitment should be $6 billion. Wait for another round, Mr. Nathan Law next. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I thank the administration for replying to my question submitted earlier on. The reply contains a lot of details, and we have 2 public officers attending the meeting today, and I think that they're also some of the consultants in the AIIB, delegates to AIIB. I'd like to pick up on Mr. James To's point. I have reservations about this commitment to AIIB, because I don't see how by injecting $6 billion to AIIB we can enjoy more benefits, and that the benefits can be quantified. According to the Undersecretary's answer just now, there are some factors that Hong Kong may enjoy after the AIIB is set up, but it may not necessarily be brought about by Hong Kong's membership of the AIIB. Whether or not Hong Kong is a member of the AIIB, we can still enjoy the benefits. For example, for our financial services sector and other professional services, we stand to benefit from AIIB's operation. But it has nothing to do with our joining the AIIB. Rather, it has to do with the AIIB's operations itself. So that 3A is not justified. As for the other point, it can also help bring benefit under the one country, 2 systems. But again, it has nothing to do with joining AIIB. It will be sad if we can only enjoy the benefits of one country, 2 systems after joining AIIB. So about striving for the setting up of offices and issuance of bonds, I think that these are the major reasons why the government is trying to convince us to support the joining of AIIB, because again, the amount of commitment will not affect how good we fare in terms of getting management contracts. We only have 0.7% voting right. So how can we increase our chances of winning contracts? So I'd like to ask a specific question. If AIIB sets up an office in Hong Kong and issue bonds, what economic return is expected from this initiative? And the Secretary, this is quite a difficult question because about bond issuance and the setting up of office, we can then engage in investment management because the assets may need to be put in for investment, and we can then take up asset management business. And also because AIIB will issue bonds in Hong Kong, some financing activities may take place in Hong Kong, bringing benefit to our financial sector. We cannot, however, make a hypothesis that we definitely will enjoy certain benefits by doing so and so. I think it's rather difficult. Really, in relation to one country, two systems, this is a rather positive view. Well, I don't want to dwell on the point of one country, two systems principle. I just want to say that the administration is not convincing enough because it seems to be all a conjecture by the administration. As far as the actual benefits, according to the paper, it's difficult to quantify the benefits because of various factors. So it's just a phased project. We all chip in. I think the major reason is not the issuance of bonds or setting up of an office, but only on point 3D, that is to show our commitment to the bank, and because when there is this major initiative, we must support it. I think this is the major reason why we need to support it. There is not really much difference before we join and after we join the AIIB. Even after we join, we have 0.7% voting right, which will not affect anything. We will not be able to have a say in the operation of AIIB. If you cannot quantify the actual benefits, how can you convince the public to support the commitment of $6 billion? Because as you put it, there will not be any actual return. Under Secretary, I would urge members to consider the following. We have over 50 members around the world which are already members of the AIIB, and more will be joining. We don't believe that this is a phased project because when the AIIB is established, it is said that under the context of globalization, AIIB will promote cooperation among countries and also infrastructure and socio-economic development of countries, and will also enhance our resilience in future financial turmoils. Wait for your next round, please. Next, Mr. Ronak Chan, 5 minutes. Thank you, Chairman. Last time at the panel on financial affairs, I already gave my support to the project. And the administration already explained that for the $4.8 billion for callable shares, unlike at the time when we joined the ADB, the government needed not be the guarantor. And for paragraph 8, if Hong Kong does not participate in the AIIB as a full member in its own right, Hong Kong is not prevented from seeking the agreement of the CPG for Hong Kong to continue to attend AIIB functions as part of the Chinese delegation. I'd like the administration to elaborate on this. The difference between participating in the AIIB as a full member and attending AIIB functions as part of the Chinese delegations. Second question relating to paragraph 11 of FCL 2017-18 paper number 2. Last time at the FA panel, I asked the same question. There will be 2 posts taken up by our representatives, and in this paper, it is said that the financial secretary will take up the post. And what about the deputy? Which public officer will become the deputy? And also, can you tell me something about the internal procedures within the government on how the posts are to be taken up? About the formal and official or non-official members, according to paragraph 8, if we're not a full member, then we will only have the advisory capacity as we have now. We can only be an observer. There will not be many opportunities for us to take part in discussions. We can only sit at back, so to speak, to observe the conduct of meetings, and we will not be able to participate in the process. However, if we become a full member, we can vote, we can have a say, and participate in the policy-making process. That is, if we are a full member, we can also exercise our own voting right and air our views. We can also exchange with other members, and in terms of approving proposals, we can then have more say on the matter. About the representatives, we haven't come to that yet, because we will go through the FC first, and once you give the go-ahead, well, we can draw reference from other members, because on the AIIB, about the representative, usually it will be the financier or the financial secretary responsible, and sometimes there will be a deputy, and sometimes there would be other representatives from other organizations becoming the council member, and we will also decide which department or organizations will be responsible before we follow up on the matter of governance. Well, I think that, well, like the ADB, when Hong Kong joined, the Hong Kong government acted as the guarantor, but on this occasion, for the callable shares, the government has not acted as the guarantor. So I wonder if the same booking of accounts would be used. That is, for accounts payable, it is a contingent liability for the $4.8 billion. It is not related to whether we have the guarantee arrangement. That is to say, whether the CPG is part of the guarantee, but still it is a contingent liability. Mrs. Regina Yip. Perhaps let me follow up on Mr. Ronald Chan's question. Does it mean that we're actually going to fork out $1.2 billion cash, and the commitment will be $6 billion? And that only when the commitment is called will we be required to pay up? Well, the New People's Party support the commitment of $6 billion, because as we know, there is a concern in Hong Kong about mainlandization, and there is also a suggestion that we should enhance our liaison with the world, and I think joining the AIIB is along this line, because we can have our own say, we can cast our own vote, and as a non-sovereignty member, we can join this international organization and cast our own vote. I strongly support that, because it can enhance our liaison with the world. But I'm concerned about the actual economic benefits. Well, I attended some Belt and Road Initiatives fora before, and according to the HSBC head, there is a keen demand for financing under the AIIB, not even $100 or $40 billion for the Silk and Road Fund. So there is a need for long-dated securities to be issued, securities or bonds to be issued with a longer tenor. I understand that the financier in the United States also talked about bonds with a longer tenor, up to 30 years. So after joining the AIIB, how will Hong Kong strive for more business in financing? I understand that we already have the IFFO, but are there more initiatives to facilitate the development of the financial services sector. About the $140 billion Silk and Road Fund or the Asian Development Bank, I can say that the amount is far lower than the amount required for the AIIB, for the Asian Development Bank and the other fund. Well, we're talking about $2,700 billion per year, as we've cited in previous meetings before. So in terms of that's the case for future investment, and also in terms of IFFO, we're in close liaison with the office. In mid-May, there'll be a high-level seminar in Beijing, and there'll be a Hong Kong delegation to promote Hong Kong under the Belt and Road Initiative. And I want to emphasize that the AIIB will be supporting the Belt and Road Initiative, and we're not blindly supporting the mainland. I want to emphasize that the AIIB has a wider coverage than just the Belt and Road Initiative, and we see that many new members aren't really Belt and Road countries. But in terms of financing support, they mainly come from the members. What is the chance of a center being set up in Hong Kong after joining the AIIB? We are still striving for the setting up of the office because, as mentioned just now, a dozen or 2 dozen countries are striving the same, including some countries in Asia. So in terms of support of the work of the AIIB, we have deployed civil servants in terms of liaison, communication, and also information about the financial market. We have been working with the Hong Kong MA, and we have made much effort. We hope that in due course we can increase the chance of the office being set up in Hong Kong. Well, the operational center, we can have more than one. We can have one in North America, etc. But in Greater China, because of the free currency policy, I hope that we can have one in Hong Kong. Dr. Edward Yu. We had a meeting previously, and I talked about my concern on risk and assessment of performance. Of course, I understand that the AIIB has just been set up. We're unsure about the writing off ratio and the loan risk, and I'd like to have more information on why you have decided not to continue to support the infrastructure development in Asia by working with the ADB. For Asia Bond Monitor, there is a report in March 2017, and for emerging East Asia, almost all local currency yield bonds suffered a plunge. On a quarter-to-quarter decrease, the drop was so serious as to amount to minus 14.8% in 2016.
Bonds independent of government has dropped by 24% almost. So there are newly emerging risks such that the issuance of government bonds have seen a general drop in yield. So if we join AIIB at this stage, where we encounter similar risks in this region, and that may lead to an undesirable outcome. ADB has also set up an AIF, Asia Infrastructure Fund, also for loans for infrastructure further breakdown into roads, water resources, and power, so on and so forth. Given that Hong Kong is already a member of ADB, and under ADB there is AIF, where the work is very similar in nature. So why should we provide funding for an duplicated area? Well, your time is up, and I think we have to take a break now. We'll come back at 4:40.